The Galactic Military Academy's training hall fell silent as Mia walked onto the combat floor. Her small frame seemed almost laughable against the towering forms of alien cadets. Crovaxi warriors with their forearms, Threndian giants whose skin could deflect plasma rounds, and the serpentine Zelthari whose reflexes were faster than human eyes could track. Another fragile human, hissed Commander Vexthor, the Crovaxi instructor whose reputation for breaking recruits was legendary across 3 sectors. Tell me, little one, why does your kind insist on joining a military designed for actual warriors? Mia's expression remained neutral, her dark eyes betraying nothing. She carried only 2 items, a pair of seemingly ordinary combat knives holstered at her hips. No armor, no enhancement gear, just blades that gleamed under the harsh training lights. Permission to demonstrate, sir, she said quietly. Vexthor's mandibles clicked in amusement. Demonstrate? Very well. Caleron, show this human what combat means. A massive Threndian stepped forward, his rock-like skin rippling with confidence. He was Ken, the pride of his planet, a warrior who had never lost a sparring match. His people were known for their impenetrable defense and crushing strength. He looked down at Mia with something resembling pity. I will try not to hurt you too badly, human, Ken rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. The match began. Ken lunged with surprising speed for his size, expecting to end this quickly with a simple grappling hold. What happened next would be replayed in military academies for generations to come. Mia moved, but moved was an inadequate word for what the observers witnessed. She flowed like water, her body seeming to phase through space itself. The first knife appeared in her hand as if materializing from thought alone. She didn't slash or stab, she touched. A precise tap against Ken's elbow joint, a point where even Threndian armor had weakness. Ken's arm went numb instantly. What? He began, but Mia was already gone, reappearing behind him. Another touch, this time at the base of his spine, not hard enough to injure, but precise enough to disrupt the nerve cluster that controlled his legs. The mighty Threndian stumbled. The entire sequence took 3 seconds. Impossible, breathed Commander Vexthor, all 4 of his arms frozen mid-gesture. But Mia wasn't finished. She began to demonstrate, and with each movement the truth became horrifyingly clear. These weren't just knife techniques. They were a complete martial philosophy born from humanity's most desperate hour. When Earth had first encountered hostile species, before they had shields and plasma weapons, humans had only one advantage. They knew every vulnerable point on their own fragile bodies, and they had learned that every species, no matter how strong, had such points. Mia's blades danced through a kata that had been banned by the Galactic Council. The whisper forms, they were called. Techniques so lethal, so precise. The 12 star systems had outlawed their practice after a single human operative had used them to neutralize an entire Crovaxi battalion without killing a single soldier. She had simply turned them off one by one with touches that lasted milliseconds. Ken tried to fight back using every technique his people had developed over millennia. Mia countered each one not with strength but with knowledge. She understood biomechanics at a level that bordered on precognition. Every species moved in patterns, had vulnerabilities, places where nerve clusters, joint assemblies, or sensory organs could be disrupted with minimal force. Stop, commanded Vexthor, but Mia had already frozen, her blade resting gently against a point on Ken's neck that would have induced immediate unconsciousness. She stepped back, returning her knives to their sheaths in a single fluid motion. Ken collapsed to his knees, not from injury, but from the realization of how completely he had been dismantled. The humans, Mia said softly, addressing the stunned assembly, are called fragile because we break easily. We have no natural armor, no venom, no enhanced strength. For most of our history, we were prey animals on a death world that actively tried to kill us. She walked slowly across the training floor, her voice carrying in the absolute silence. So we learned. We studied every creature that hunted us, every predator that saw us as food. We learned their weak points, their patterns, their vulnerabilities. We turned fragility into a science. We couldn't be strong, so we became precise. We couldn't be tough, so we became knowledgeable. Ken rose slowly, respect replacing pity in his massive eyes. That technique? When did humans develop it? 300 years ago, Mia replied. During the first contact wars, when we realized the galaxy was full of species who saw us as inferior, She turned to Commander Vexthor. The whisper forms were banned not because they're cruel. They were banned because they're efficient. We can disable without killing. We can neutralize without destruction, and that terrified the warrior cultures. Vexthor's mandibles clicked slowly, a sign of deep thought among his kind. I have trained soldiers for 40 cycles. I have never seen anything move like you moved. The Cravaxi Council declared your techniques dishonorable. But now I understand it wasn't dishonor they feared. It was obsolescence. Human combat philosophy isn't about honor or glory, Mia said. It's about survival. About making sure we see tomorrow. We're fragile, Commander. We know it, we've always known it. So we became very, very good at breaking things that aren't fragile. She bowed slightly to Ken, who returned the gesture with newfound respect. Thank you for the match. You fought well. In the weeks that followed, Mia became something of a legend at the academy. The other cadets stopped seeing humans as fragile weaklings to be protected or dismissed. They saw what humanity truly was, a species that had taken their greatest weakness and forged it into their most terrifying strength. Ken became Mia's training partner, learning from her as much as she learned from his people's traditions. Together, they represented something new, the understanding that strength came in many forms, and that the most dangerous warriors weren't always the strongest. They were the ones who knew exactly where to strike. As Mia stood in the training hall late one night, practicing her forms alone, she smiled slightly. Let them call humans fragile. Let them underestimate the species that had clawed its way up from prey animals to starfarers. Humanity hadn't conquered the galaxy through strength. They had done it through precision, knowledge, and the absolute refusal to accept that fragility meant weakness, and that, she thought as her blades whispered through the air in patterns banned across 12 star systems, was the most human thing of all.